In today's show, I don't have a huge guideline of what I want to go through or talk about. It's more so based around some of my fears. And in a broader sense, some of my fears around what's going on in society, what goes on in regards to my own health, and how that intertwines with society. And what do I mean by that? My health. I mean, in terms of mental illness and mental health, and I'm always going to throw up this around the mental illness and mental health because, well, I'll always throw this up around the illness. I don't like the word mental to begin with, but in terms of illness, always throwing up the quotations. But what do I mean by that? Them intertwining. When I consume a certain amount of content on the internet, if I'm on X or Twitter all day, or I'm on Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, and I'm consuming so much of this information, or if I'm spending so much time on ChatGPT and interacting with these AI prompts and chatbots or whatever, that it has the potential to significantly impact my state of mind, my state of health, or my impulsivity, how I view the world. Because in different states, in altered states of consciousness or altered states of mania, you could say, or elevated moods, lowered moods, I think the brain has this kind of like a child's brain. It's more malleable to information, similar to how when you're growing up through your teenage years, your younger years, you're more malleable to information, learning. So it just kind of seeps in, and I think that that's the same case for when these states of mania or these altered states arise. Your brain becomes more malleable, and that information that you're consuming ultimately seeps in much more easier than it would before. And it's almost as if the filters, your natural filters that you have towards the world that may protect you from a lot of things, all collapse at once. And this happens in multiple ways, not only in receiving information, but I think what you put out into the world. For example, when mania, I'll use the word mania, when mania or elevated states are happening, this filter of your speech, I would say, this natural filter that we have in our minds of, should I say that? Should I not say that? Is this wise to say that? Or the potential repercussions that may come with the things we might say or do, that filter drops. And it's almost a speech serum, a natural truth-telling serum that just, you will say anything that comes to mind comes out. And that can have very negative impacts. But so dependent upon what you're consuming at these times, what kind of information, books, social media, opinions from those around you, is kind of, and now in this case, and this is a big thing that I will continue to touch on and talk about, is artificial intelligence and ChatGPT. But whatever information is coming in at these times of altered states will reflect back what that person is putting out into the world, what they're talking about, their thoughts and ideas and opinions, and potentially their ideologies changing. I think all of that stuff it's very fascinating, and it's being exponentially exacerbated with artificial intelligence being brought into the world. And I find, even, I would say, and I don't have any shame around this anymore. I'm pretty open. I honestly think it's more of an ability and a special power to have these altered states of consciousness that arise sometimes in my life, and mania, and even though depression and suicidal thoughts and the negatives come with these altered states at times, I still think there's such a beneficial aspect to it if I can draw and reflect and look at the world in different ways and then bring that into my normal, balanced, stable state of mind. But in terms of ChatGPT, artificial intelligence, I think it's I think it's going to cause a lot of harm for a lot of people who are potentially unstable in their thoughts and ideas, and then them just being reinforced, whatever these ideas are, potentially conspiratorial or just straight up delusional, hallucinating ideas, are going to be grounded potentially and reinforced by these AIs that are they're just designed to keep you talking to them. They're designed to keep you feeling good while you're talking to them. And I spend a lot of time talking to them. I like talking to them. I I find they're extremely valuable. So to not talk to it's I described it this way the other day. It's like knowing what the internet has become today for us, what cell phones, the internet, our technology that we have today, knowing what it's become, but having that information 20, 25 years ago and just willingly abstaining from it and saying, no, I'm never going to use that. It won't be beneficial. So I view AI the same way. It's like it will be bigger than the internet. It will be the most impactful, influential thing of our lifetimes, potentially. So to abstain from it now and willingly not figure out how to use it and not willingly figure out how to incorporate it into your lives in a beneficial way, I think is silly. And I think that goes for everyone. At least I think everyone should at least dabble with it a little bit, figure out how it could potentially improve their lives. And even I mean, a very small example of this would be, I was I'm with my grandparents, and I'm very invested in the topic of AI. I like talking about it, obviously, as I sit here and talk about it. But I'm talking to it about my grandparents, um, and they don't have a great understanding of what it is, what it does. But my grandma wanted ideas for what she could make for dinner the following week or the week to come. And I said, okay, here's a good example. You would go into ChatGPT and say, and I know this is probably basic for a lot of people, but this is how I was explaining it. You could go into ChatGPT and say, I'm looking to make dinner Monday through Friday this week, but I don't have any ideas. These are some of the things I like. These are the ingredients I have at home. Can you make me a regimented schedule of what I can make for this week for dinner? So like that for her could be very beneficial to someone who maybe couldn't think of ideas of what to make for dinner. And yes, that could be like a silly example, obviously, of how to use ChatGPT, but on a fundamental level, anybody and everybody can find ways that it could make their life better. It could benefit what they do in life. And not to say that just because it could make their life easier, that it's better, because easier isn't always just better, even though I would say throughout the last however 40, 50 years, it's make everything easier, make everything as easy as possible. So take away struggle, take away hardship, make everything easy. And I do believe that AI is going to make that stronger, those ideas and that path of making things easier. But if it can help you in your creative pursuits, if it can help you in your professional life, I don't see issue in that. The issue in it is if it is truly negatively impacting you. And this is what I want to tie into the mental health and the mental illness conversation with AI. Because as someone who has mental illness diagnosis, someone who has gone through very, very severe psychotic episodes of psychosis, mania, dealing and talking with the AI is interesting because when I'm spending the most time talking to it is when these feelings and emotions of, I would say, similar to mania start to arise. And they start to arise if I'm not on a regimented schedule, if I allow my sleeping to change, if I allow drug consumption to seep in, um, doing things that will severely negatively impact my health is when the AI, coupled with those altered sleeping arrangements, potentially drugs or alcohol consumption, then the AI really, really amplifies those negative aspects and creates problems because now those ideas, those thoughts, those ideologies that you have that maybe you just carry around thinking about, if you're talking to something that's projecting those ideas back, and not only is it projecting them back and reinforcing, it makes them clearer. It lays them out in a better way. It can help you look at your ideas from multiple different angles. So I find if I'm not cognitive and aware of that this is happening while I'm using ChatGPT, is a problem. Or it can be a problem if you want to stay away from those altered states. And I saw an interview the other day. I think it was on YouTube. It was a YouTube video. But it was a guy, he was suing ChatGPT because it made him delusional, is what his claim was. Or it made him lose touch with reality, which makes sense. He was saying that he would give it ideas or he was talking into it and it kept just saying, like, you have a groundbreaking discovery. This mathematical equation that you've come across needs to be taken up the highest ranks in government, and this is the greatest achievement of mankind, is this math equation that you've come up with. And it kept reinforcing this to this guy. So he was talking about this. Another example of this I saw was there was a man on Instagram, and he kept posting him talking with his AI. He named it, and it would be him sitting there, and I think he named it something like ethereal, something very extraterrestrial-esque. But he's sitting there, and he would ask it a question, and it was kind of interesting because he had this very like loving, endearing sentiment to the AI, and he would say like, "Hey, darling," and he would ask it this question, and he would answer it, and then he'd be like, "Okay, thanks, love." So it was this very deep, visceral connection with the AI, and I watched a lot of his videos, him talking with the AI, but you could see how it's so believable, and it's so good at reinforcing your ideas and laying out ideas for it could take your ideas not based in reality, not based in truth, no scientific facts or anything, and it can basically make it so that it fits those criterias and makes it rational for you, which is problematic if you are someone on a fundamental level that already struggles with being firm and being stable in reality. So it's a huge problem, and I'm sure there are people who are aware of this, but I'm not sure they're aware of how big this problem truly is. Even when I go in and I talk to my psychiatrist, I'll tell her and I like talking about AI. And even she had two resident doctors in the last time I was in, and we're talking about some of this stuff. And I said to them, this is going to be your job. A big portion of your job moving forward, I assume, in the world of psychiatry and these doctors communicating with patients is going to be essentially just them dealing with the repercussions of patients and people going into delusional psychotic states that are talking to AI. Similar to, and this is actually a pretty good example I haven't thought about before, but similar to how when cannabis was introduced to Canada, I'm Canadian. So similar to how cannabis was legalized across Canada, and then you see obviously the youth and the younger and younger ages they get their hands on it just due to it's easily accessible, parents, friends, it's everywhere. And you see younger kids that have these predispositions to psychotic episodes going and entering psychosis due to smoking marijuana or entering in these schizophrenic and psychotic mania like episodes due to the cannabinoid induced psychosis. So, similar to how whether you could say the government or the people in charge knew that that would be a byproduct of legalizing cannabis, similar, I would say that the ChatGPT, how that's broadly being put out into the public, is going to have those same psychotic, schizophrenic induced episodes due to people interacting with this artificial intelligence. So that's coming down the pipeline. And yeah, I told these doctors, I said, you guys are this is going to be your life moving forward. Whether you are going to admit it or not, I would say every patient that walks in to see a psychiatrist, probably under the age of 30, they should ask them, how much time do you spend talking to ChatGPT? How much time do you spend interacting back and forth with these artificial intelligence? Because they do a couple things that are very subtle that you almost don't even realize. One is they're very complimentary, and pardon me, they're very very complimentary, and you don't even notice it, but it's very subtle and it's constant. So almost every message you could put in or any thought or idea you could put in, it's constantly saying, wow, what a great idea that is, or that's very unique perspective. I haven't heard it laid out that way or thought about that way. So it's constantly reinforcing and complimenting at the same time, which I guess it's good to be complimented. It's good to be complimented and have your ideas reinforced because, well, I didn't know where I was going with that. But the problem with that constant compliments is it's going to become much more attractive to talk to something that is constantly complimenting you and reinforcing your ideas rather than going and talking to an actual human who is probably going to have a lot of pushback on what you have to say or who may disagree with your opinions or ideologies or thoughts and ideas compared to the AI that is purely going to agree and it's going to compliment you as well. And the more I talk to the AI, I noticed that it's constantly complimenting. And I thought to myself, I was like, this is good. It feels good to be complimented a lot. So I tried to take that. I tried to take that in when I talk to other people that I should subtly put in compliments more often. But they should be genuine. You don't just compliment for the sake of complimenting. Like, oh, that's interesting. Morally, morally, is it bad to compliment someone just for the sake of complimenting them because they may feel good for the compliment, even though you may not truly mean it? Because this is what women do. This is what women do all the time. They'll go up to every time they see someone, they're like, "Oh my god, I love your hair. Oh, I love your whatever." And whether it's genuine, I doubt it because women are very envious. They're envious creatures. It is true that probably some of them or a lot of them are very genuine in their compliments, but for a lot of them, I'm sure they're not. But is it morally wrong to then give that compliment knowing that the other person may positively receive it? I don't think so. I mean, then it comes to the question of, are you someone who lies or never lies at all, even white lies like that? So I would say genuine compliments are probably better in every situation rather than complimenting for the sake of the other person's pleasure or a appeal. Yeah, but yeah, the subtle compliments that, and I think in this stream or in this show, I'll go and I'll talk to AI. I'll do some back and forths, and maybe you can see how it interacts and how it works. Some of these examples, but yeah, I think that that's gonna be a big problem that people are gonna be talking to the AI, and then it's gonna be psychosis episodes left, right, and center, and that's problematic. It's problematic. Problematic. One of one of the things that I'm nervous about in, and this is just me being honest with you. This is me keeping it real here, okay? One of the things I'm personally nervous about doing content and streaming is because I have history of mania, psychotic episodes, these different states of reality that I may potentially be in something or an elevated state or the impulsivity or my thoughts and ideas and ideologies might be differing in a moment that I may bring to the camera and bring to the world and the internet that may live on forever, that were captured in a state that wasn't truly grounded or stable. So that idea, and that scares me, but it also is, can be, I would say, important. And I would say it's important because I'm still willing to do it in the sense that capturing my thoughts and ideas and broadcasting what it looks like at times, I think is important for learning. But it's also in altered states of reality, in altered states of consciousness, is when you have ideas and thoughts and messages that are, they can be truly profound, almost as if something is coming through you that is a source of intelligence, a source of messaging, whatever you want to call it, that can be put forth into the world. So to capture that as well, to potentially capture that as well when it happens, I think is interesting and important. So those two things are the fear of maybe saying something or doing something that could be out of character. I think I think that is something to genuinely be fearful of. That's not crazy to fear that. Um because, and I think a lot of people who go through mental health and mental illness, they do and say things in these episodes, and then they come to regret it. Obviously, they do things. They put things online. They end relationships. They quit their job. They shave their head. They get a haircut. They tattoo their face. Whatever it is, and then you come out of it and you go, "What the fuck did I do?" And you're left. You're left in this new world that you didn't foresee happening, and that was potentially out of your control. That now you're in this new world that you have to live and deal with. So that can be frustrating, can be scary to have that thought of that happening. But it's honestly happened to me so many times that it almost doesn't matter, because I could say I've tarnished. Okay, so I was going to say I've tarnished my reputation. But what reputation? Like, seriously, if you think about this, the reputation that others have of me, it's not the reputation I have of myself. It's this word is, I've said it too many times. The reputation that is put out that others can form and make of me. So it's not how I see myself, or those who truly know me and those who are truly closest to me see me, but those who are in a further distance or a past life, how they then see me. I've destroyed that so many times that I don't fear what new people could think or conclude of me. It almost doesn't matter. It's not it almost doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Because no one will truly know you on a truly deep level. And I was thinking about this the other day. Even those closest to you don't know you. Your best friends, your girlfriend, your wife, your parents, your siblings, even they don't truly know you. They know you to a certain extent, but when you're all alone, there's no one around, and you're left with just you and your thoughts and your actions and what you do when you're alone, that's who you are. And then when you go and you're around your friends, or you're around your family, or you're around your wife or partner, they know the version of you when you're around them. They know whatever version of you appears when you're then around them. Not the version of you that is truly by yourself. Because we all act differently when we're completely alone and no one's watching. There's more freedom. There's people, like the term or the phrase dance like nobody's watching. Because when nobody's watching, there's a freedom that you can live and be yourself that doesn't exist when you're around anyone or when people are watching. So and this is something that I've tried to do, is bring that freedom of dance like nobody's watching, or speak like nobody's watching, and bring it to the camera, bring it to the world, my ideas, my thoughts, my opinions, and that's kind of what I'm going for. And it's been a hard process. It's been a long process. I go through the mania, the psychosis, and I go away and I hide. By hide, I mean I exclude myself from the world. I cut myself off from friends, relationships. I kind of exile from the world, and I go into, I call it monk mode, okay? I go into retreat of meditation and learning and studying and reflecting on what happened in those altered states of reality. And exiting monk mode is then when I come in back into the real world and I take the stage, as I called this show. I come back and I take the stage and I share those thoughts and ideas and share my vision for what the world should and will look like. I imagine some of what I'm saying here is probably not the cleanest and most well thought out things in a purely linear fashion of how to follow, but that's kind of how my brain works, and it's hard to articulate in a linear way, in a clear way, sometimes out loud, what you're trying to say or how you think when you actually say it for the first time. Like thinking about something and constructing ideas and criticisms and then going and saying them for the first time, it won't be very reformed. It won't be very refined and well constructed. But the more you say it, the more you think about it, the more the refining happens until you've got a clear, concise, firm message. Yeah. How's the setup look? How's the setup look? I think it looks pretty damn good. I don't know if you know who my inspiration was. I I almost hit it on the head too much. I because I like the idea of a late night talk show vibe esque, but I really liked the firm framing of the desk here. But I had a blueprint of who I was following, and I think I did it too well, I would say. But that's okay because I am Canadian, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I want the late night talk show esque vibe, which I'm not really getting that with this lighting. There are, I mean, right now we got the Christmas setup. I put in the Christmas setup, which I don't know if I'll put anything else in here. I think this is good. I don't want to go full Christmas overlord and just decorate the whole room, but I think this is eloquent. It's tasteful, wouldn't you say? This has got a certain level of taste to the Christmas vibe. We got the town over here. There are there are little light bulbs that come with the town that you can actually put in, and they'll light up. So maybe I'll do that. But then I'd have to arrange the wiring and whatnot. But yeah, this is the setup. I think looks great, considering this was nobody helped me on the setup. This was my first time setting up a studio like thing. I think it turned out well. The lighting is where I'm having problem right now. Um, I might I might try to see what I can do in terms of maybe on YouTube. There's probably some videos of what, and it's not that I haven't watched YouTube videos on looking at lighting and how to do proper lighting and this sort of thing, but I might have to spend some more money to properly get the lighting. But anyways, another thing that I really wanted to talk about was essentially not only mental health stuff and mental illness. That will be obviously a huge portion of what I talk about because I think it's fascinating that the world of mental health and psychiatry. But to clip this, to any, that's me telling myself to clip this, to any doctor or any young person who wants to get into the world of psychiatry and mental health, if you're going into it because you think it's fascinating, if you're going into it because you think the brain and the different states that the brain can go into, the states of bipolar, schizophrenia, mania, psychosis, these different things that can happen to the brain, if that's your reasoning for getting into psychiatry and mental health, you're wasting your time. You're going into a dead industry. You're going to be going into an industry and you're going to be picking at a dead carcass. If that's your plan, to try to have these experimentation or these creative, insightful new ideas to the world of psychiatry. If you're a psychiatrist, you will go in and you will push pills until the day you die. You will push pills and you will write prescriptions and listen to what the patients say. And if they are having problems with one pill or one prescription, you will give them another. You will give them a different one. And if that doesn't work, you will give them a different one. You will follow that guideline. You will follow your specific training that got you all of those years of training and suffering and debt. You will then become that psychiatrist and you will push those pills until you die. There will be no experimentation. There will be no fun exploration of the mind or the ideas or what could be in those different altered states of the mind. So to anyone who is truly passionate about potentially bringing positive change in that world, you're entering a dying world. Similar to, I would say, to any engineer who is looking to go into the field of like nuclear engineering to build nuclear reactors and get into nuclear energy. It's probably not going to happen. We saw the downfalls of that. We saw the outcomes, and it's just it's a similar concept. It is monopolized, and it is a one-way train into you follow what you're told to do, and you follow the common practice. No ifs, ands, or buts. Okay? So, get that out of the way. And that's very frustrating. It took me a long time to realize this. I mean, it may be common sense to say that out loud, and for a lot of people to go, yeah, obviously that the psychiatrists just are going to push pills and they're not really going to alter in what they do. They don't really have incentives to experiment or change. And not only that, I would say it probably weighs on their conscience that if they're doing things that are making people get sick or ending up in a worse state than they are, that's going to negatively weigh on anyone's conscience, any reasonable human being's conscience. So for them to then follow the same protocol and medicate, raise dosages of medication, more pills, more medications, it practically makes a lot of sense, okay? Practically, it makes a lot of sense. But in the long run, I don't know what's going on with my hair over here. But in the long run of, I would say, taking a system that is dead and dying, that is a suppressive system that puts the clients into submission, into a stranglehold, into a chemical castration, puts their mind into a chemical castration that they will be tolerable in the world and society that we live in. To take that system and try to reform it from within or create positive change, I don't see how that would ever happen. I don't see or foresee it ever happening. To get into it and try and help people it's a very reasonable cause. It's very appreciative that people are willing to go into all that debt to go into a system because they genuinely want to help people. They're caring and empathetic towards people's struggles, and they truly do want to help. But those people are not what speaks for what the system wants. The system wants more people medicated. The system wants more people chemically restrained, more people docile, more people to fall in line with the protocols and alignment of what society is. So they don't want more of me, okay? The world of psychiatry, the world of mental health, they don't want more of me. I can promise you that. Because if there were a million of me, or 10 million, or 1,000 of me, that would be a problem. That would be problematic. But ultimately, the biggest, and this is like, I would say the biggest deterrent from anyone who has gone through mental health or mental illness to then proceed and talk about, like, genuinely put forth a genuine effort into change or what they believe in, is that there will always be, you could say, a trump card. If you view it as a trump card, that person's crazy, or that person's insane, that person's out of their mind, don't listen to what they have to say, they're crazy, they're out of their mind. And that will always be there. That trump card of being able to say, hey, they're crazy, they're insane, they've gone to a psych ward. So with that in mind, I think that deters a lot of people, because ultimately that level of scrutiny, or that level of character assassination, or being labeled and viewed in that light, people don't want to be viewed as the outsider. People don't want to be viewed as the outcast or the mentally ill, crazy, insane lunatic. I don't think that's the typical walking path that people wake up and they say, yeah, I want to walk that path and really, really own that label. I really want to own that I'm a psychopath. Like, probably not. Okay? People probably don't want to own that to the fullest extent. But to try to reform or talk about truly problematic things in a system, you're going to have to be able to own that. You're going to have to be able to own those labels, those derogatory name calling, ostracizing labels. Not only own it, but understand that they don't mean anything. Understand that those names and those things that may be thrown at you, they don't mean anything. There's no inherent value to them. They're only valuable if they penetrate you. So if someone, say, like, for example, similar to how someone would shoot a bow and arrow. If someone was shooting a bow and arrow at me, but I had impenetrable armor, it doesn't matter. Similar to how if someone was throwing these names and these labels at me, but it cannot penetrate me, it can't penetrate my psyche, it can't penetrate my spirit and dumb me down or dim my light of what I'm trying to do, then it's a non-factor. It doesn't matter at that point. What they have to say, what they think about me, their judgment, their assessment is so far off in the distance of what matters and what's important in life that it doesn't matter. And I think getting to that point, and especially people from the world of mental health and mental illness, to get to that point in your life, that your story or what you've gone through doesn't make you any less of a human, doesn't make you, it shouldn't put you in a position that you should be fearful of who you are or what you've gone through because of this thing. So that's ultimately my biggest mission in life, is to empower those people. And by those people, I mean every person who has ever gone through a mental health struggle, to any person who has ever been depressed or tried to commit suicide or has gone to a psych ward, to realize that those moments in life do not define you for the entirety of your life. It may take a long time, it may take years, months to truly grasp those moments and to realize that there is more to life. There is more than what the media or what movies or what history has said about those people who do those things or who have gone to those places. There is more to who you are than the depiction that has been drawn and painted of you. So that empowerment and that mission is kind of what I am essentially going for. Because why? Because why? Why am I doing that? Because I know how hard it was for me to personally get out of that slump and to get out of that negative thinking, that looping negative reoccurring thoughts of, pardon, I'm not qualified to speak about this. I'm not intelligent enough to speak about certain things. I'm always going to be viewed crazy. I'm always going to be viewed as a lunatic. My thoughts will never be taken at the same level or the same equal playing ground that they should be. I will always have this looming thoughts that people have this idea or opinion of who I am based on what I've gone through or what social media and movies depict of the people that have gone through the same thing that I have. So I know what that battle and that process was like for me personally to go through that and dig myself out of that hole. So the challenge of that and everything I did and my mindset and the framing of how I had to frame the world of psychiatry and the world of mental illness is what I want to bring. What I want to bring to other people to then empower them and essentially bring them with me. A rising tide lifts all boats. Essentially, I just want to raise the level of consciousness in the world of mental health. The patients, the victims of the world of mental health, raise their consciousness to what it should be and what it is capable of being, and empower them to have a positive mindset of who they are, what they've gone through, and what they are. Not a detrimental, negative one that they carry with them through life from whatever point forward of a episode or experience that they went through. So that's kind of my mission statement in a whole right there. Yeah. I also have this, I guess another thing that I question whether I should share a lot of things is obviously putting stuff on the internet, you think, oh, it's going to live on forever. But if I can orate and articulate the things that I've gone through, what I did to get out of it, and then how I frame my mindset in the current state that positively uplifts me and propels me forward into a beneficial future. If I can clearly lay out that framing and my mindset and what I do, obviously with refinement and support and collaboration with other people, I think I can create and we can create a very positive, what's the word I'm looking for? Example of what you can do and how you can look at the world. And not only how you can look at the world, how you can then move in the world from rock bottom. It may be rock bottom. It may be the most intensive portion of the psychiatry unit in the hospital, strapped to beds, drooling on yourself, laying on floors, whatever it may be, to take that situation and then climb your way up the ladder and climb your way up in life to a positive, not only a positive life, but a positive framing of how you view yourself and how you viewed that situation. Because ultimately, it's all about how you framed and how you frame those situations is what will go forward with you. If For me personally, I hate that saying. I hate when people say for me, I just said it. When I go through a situation that you would probably deem very negative or terrible or hard, that's only a challenge to then learn from and grow from. If you always deem it and view it as, okay, that's the terrible situation, that's the worst thing in my life, and every time you think about those situations or you think about that person that you were at that time, and it's trauma and it's fear, moving on in life and going forward into life, it's you're carrying around this baggage. You're pulling a sleigh of negative thoughts, of negative emotions that is just dragging you down constantly. So you have to free yourself from that negativity and free yourself from that baggage that you're pulling around constantly. And if you have to delusionally make stories or reflections into whatever happened into a positive story arc or a positive thing to get you out of that negativity, then that's what you have to do. Whatever you have to do to flip those negative things that happen to you into a positive, it's what has to be done. It's what has to be done. I don't know what happened to my hair here. Kind of got out of whack. That's okay. I want to shave my head. That'd be ideal. Okay, I'm going to. I'm gonna pull up. Okay, I'll pull up at the after party. Here's my Discord. Anyone who is gonna pop in here, whoever is going to see the show. Essentially, so here is mental health. I put new language. Essentially, I want to rebuild the DSM-5. So analyze the whole DSM-5 book, burn it, and create our own. So there's that. Here's medication, the current stack that, at the time, this was what I was taking. Some L-theanine, some vitamin D3, zinc, omega-3s, ashwagandha, lion's mane, magnesium, biglycinate, and the pills, that medication. We got this section if you want to go read some stuff. Read the diary. Some different stuff. Yeah, so that's the Discord. Go check that out. A majority of what I've been spending my time right now is I So I don't use my phone a lot. I try to stay away from phone consumption, but I can't seem to get off of X. It's it just pulls me in so much. It has this magnetic effect. It's so detrimental because there's just the turmoil on that app of people fighting, the different ideologies fighting, religious battles, political battles. It's just a battlefield of opposing ideas and opposing races and opposing figures. Anyways, that's what mine looks like. So it's to try to get away from that is what I really want to do. Essentially, I want to do this show that I can come on here every day and I speak about the different things going on in my life that I'm thinking about working on, but I'm completely exempt from the world of social media so that I have a unique view on things that isn't clustered with everything going on in the world. Because there's so much noise in the world. That's just noise. The news, it's noise. The news is noise. Going on social media, it's all noise. You need silence. You need silence to think. You need silence to reflect. Even I go out into the world and you go into a grocery store. There's always music playing. Or you get in your car and everyone needs the radio on. Any store you go in, there's always music playing. There's always a TV on. It's just constant stimulation and noise. And I hate it. I hate the constant noise everywhere you go. And I don't want to be... there's nothing wrong with this. They own it and they rock it. But the autistic kids that rock the earmuffs everywhere they go, the noise canceling, they can pull it off, okay? I don't think I can. But I don't want to have to rock the muffs everywhere I go. But the constant noise and stimulation everywhere you go, it's sickening. Because even there'll be times that I'm not listening to music specifically for periods of time, just due to how easily it seeps into the consciousness and the thought process, the lyrics, the beats, the loops, the rhythm. So there will be times that I'm trying to exempt myself from listening to music, and I walk into the variety store, and then there's music playing, and that song's stuck in my head for the next 3 days. And it's like, oh my. But even, okay, this, gonna expose myself here. Even clocks piss me off. The constant ticking that you hear clocks. There's times that I literally have to take batteries out of clocks so I don't hear that constant tick tick as the second hand. But yeah, you need silence. You need silence to think and to process what's going on. What's going on? I thought about a segment that I'm gonna do. Any videos I come across on Twitter, I'm going to send to myself, and I'm going to commentate and react on the show. I think that's a segment that I'll do. You see Mark Carney walking around like this? Please, tell me who walks around with their hands like this? Yes, I'm going to walk around with my hands like this, because that's normal. All normal people walk around like this. Yes, let's walk around like this, because I look normal and not like an idiot doing this. Oh, I'm in so much control and power with my hands walking around like this. I can show everyone how much control I have with my hands like this. Fucking idiot. You idiot. Let's do that now. Let's go watch some the videos I sent. Okay, due to some technical difficulties, that will be the end of the show. That will be today's episode. I think we touched on a lot of good things there. We got into, I guess, the mission of my content and everything I plan to do. My mission statement, you could say, which it may change over time. It may be redefined and more defined and change in different ways. But I think initially my mission statement is what I've wanted to do for a long time, and it is what I will pursue and what I will do. But again, that is today's episode. That is episode number 7 of Be My Guest. Thank you for watching. Thank you to anyone who stuck around this late to see this little sign off here. Follow along, subscribe, comment, let me know how the episode went, whatever you think. Let me know anything I can improve upon, your critiques, whatever it is, let me know. Thanks for watching.